Life Audio.
Welcome to Christian Natural Health with naturopathic Dr. Lauren DeVille. Christian Natural Health is the podcast on how to get and stay healthy, God's way. You'll hear topics on nutrition, exercise, sleep, avoiding toxicity, meditating on scripture, what supplements to take, stress management, defeating anxiety and worry, how to reconcile Eastern medicine approaches with Christianity, and a whole lot more. Now, here's your host, Dr. Lauren.
The roof was completely gone.
All of our memories being wiped away.
The rain is what got
20 minutes of sheer terror.
And you can feel it in your body.
I watched the fire move down the canyon.
The rumbling of the house.
My son started screaming, we're going to die, we're going to die. In the name of Jesus, we are not going to die.
At Samaritan's Purse, we bring spiritual and physical aid to hurting people around the world. We go into dangerous situations because in disaster, in disease, in war, Jesus calls us to love our neighbor, to heal the sick, feed the hungry, restore the broken. All who work and volunteer with Samaritan's Purse follow the example of Jesus. We go to serve, not to be served. And we go in Jesus' name. Join us at SamaritansPurse.org. That's SamaritansPurse.org.
Do you have tattoos, or do you shrink from the ink? And what does the Bible say about marking our bodies? We'll find out from Focal Point's Bible teacher, Pastor Mike Fabarez, as he discusses this topic on Ask Pastor Mike. Text the word Mike to 833-989-3750 right now to get a direct link to listen to Ask Pastor Mike and get the truth about tattoos. Again, text Mike to 833-989-3750.
Welcome back to another episode of Christian Natural Health. Today, I'm very excited to have Dr. Afton Hassett with us. Dr. Hassett is an associate professor and director of pain and opioid research in the Department of Anesthesiology at the University of Michigan. She's a principal investigator at the Chronic Pain and Fatigue Research Center, who has over $14 million of research funding from the National Institutes of Health. Viewed as a leader in the field of chronic pain and resilience, she recently gave the keynote address at the 2023 Pain Consortium Symposium on advances in pain research for the NIH. While studying established treatments for chronic pain and developing new approaches is her passion, her frustration is that exciting research discoveries rarely make it to the people who could benefit the most. Thus, Afton's mission was to write Chronic Pain Reset to bring evidence-based strategies from research and academic medical settings directly to people who live with chronic pain, with the hope that they will gain new tools to lead more rewarding lives with less pain. Welcome, Afton. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to join you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, let's start with some definitions. Chronic pain. What is it? How is it defined?
Right. So the way that we define it for research is it's pain that is present frequently for most of the last 3 months. Okay. So people can often have an injury that kind of lingers maybe a month or so. We don't necessarily consider that chronic at that point. It really is pain that has lasted longer than we should anticipate is necessary for the healing process to take place.
Got it. Okay. And so your book kind of focuses on the fact that chronic pain, even though we feel it in parts of our bodies, it actually originates in the brain. How does that work?
You know, it's so exciting. We have about 30 years of really fascinating cutting edge pain research in the field of neuroscience that really has helped us understand how it is that the brain processes pain, what parts of the brain process pain, and how it's different, how pain is processed differently in people with chronic pain compared to people who don't have chronic pain. And what has become very, very apparent to us is that without the brain or consciousness, pain is not experienced. So if you think about maybe the patient who undergoes surgery, and they're anesthetized. And so certainly there's painful things being done to them, including a large incision, but no pain is experienced because the brain is not connecting and making pain possible to perceive. And then when the patient wakes up, it's acutely painful, right? Because they're conscious now and they're processing.
Right.
What we have learned is that, without that processing, without that enhanced processing that we think is is observed in chronic pain, that we need to think about new ways to treat that, because that is so different than people who don't have chronic pain.
Sure, absolutely. So, and before I get into some of like the techniques and strategies and whatnot, just because the opiate crisis is so enormous, can you give us a little bit of like, what's your perspective, since this is kind of your wheelhouse? What do you have? What's your perspective on what's going on with that?
So, the opioid crisis is really multifactorial. And you ask, is it possibly just kind of a sign of a greater malaise amongst society? But really, that might have set the stage for how the epidemic got so out of control. But really, the heart of the opioid epidemic was people with chronic pain who needed to have treatment, and needing to treat people on a massive scale. Having a pill was a godsend to pain providers, or to pain, to physicians who are caring for pain patients. And to have one pill that had so much promise and hype coming with it, feel like, wow, we've got the panacea, really difficult problem and a simple solution. But, we all know how many years, 30 years later, what that brought us, and how upside down so many lives have been turned. People with chronic pain, people without chronic pain, the parents of children, children and their parents. It really has upended things. And so our goal as researchers is to find the best possible alternatives to opioid therapies for people with chronic pain. Sure. Some people benefit from opioids. Some people do not. Most actually do not, according to the data.
Yeah, very interesting. So what do our thoughts and emotions have to do with our perception of pain?
This is a thorny subject because so long people with chronic pain were thought to have a psychiatric condition. And it was like, oh, dismiss this woman. Right. She's clearly depressed. She's cray-cray,
Yeah.
Put her aside. But what we really know is that chronic pain is not a psychiatric illness. Many people with chronic pain have never had a depressive episode or anxiety, and they're high functioning outside of the chronic pain. And so that's just not the answer. But what we do know that's really fascinating is that the parts of our brain, the many parts that process pain, also overlap with, or can connect to, next to, the parts of our brain that process thoughts and emotions. And so maybe you've experienced this yourself, that, you've fallen and injured yourself. And if you get panicky and fearful and angry, often the pain feels worse. But if you kind of laugh at it because it's kind of silly and kind of shake it off, the pain often isn't as bad. So we kind of either amplify or dampen the signals depending on our thoughts and our emotions. And that gives us a way in to improving chronic pain. Yeah. Because we can adapt our thoughts so that they're a little healthier and a little less fearful, and our emotions so that we've invited some positive emotion into the mix. We actually can dampen down pain and actually see how the brain can start to rewire itself.
Fascinating. And so give us some examples of maybe some healthy activities or lack thereof that can affect our perception of pain.
Well, your grandma probably was right. I mean, my grandma always said, you just need to eat healthy, eat a lot of fiber, drink a lot of water, exercise.
Yep.
Yes.
All of the above. Yep.
All of the above. It's, it's like, what is good care for our bodies is good care for our brains. So the first thing is sleep. So the best tool I have for sleep is go to bed at the same time every night. Get up at the same time every morning, no matter what. Even on weekends, right? Because your body loves predictability. Your body's built on circadian rhythms, or just these kind of natural processes that run on a biological clock. And the more predictable you are in your lifestyle, the easier it is for your body to adjust. And thus, going to bed and waking up at the same time is the best thing we can do for sleep. Eat healthy. The more fiber, the more healthy vegetables, the less processed food, all good for your brain. And then certainly stay hydrated. That helps us feel less fatigued, helps us think more clearly. But really beyond that, exercise. And that doesn't mean going to the gym and having to, break out a tremendous sweat and lift huge weights. It means get outside with your friends and go for a brisk walk. It means go to a dance class, something that you really, really enjoy. Take up dance. If there's some sort of sport, pickleball or tennis that you can play in a modified fashion, do that. So do
Move your
physical
body.
activity, that's fun. Move your body, right? And then most importantly is what we do for our mind-body health. That are we thinking thoughts that are really self-destructive? Are we ruminating and driving ourselves nuts? Are we feeling shame? All those things make pain worse. And just to become aware of them doesn't mean we want to get rid of all these emotions. All of our emotions are valuable, but it doesn't mean we need to really dwell in them. And then also opening up the door for positive emotions too, that people with chronic pain often think, how do I have the time or ability? My life is so bad. How do I experience positive things? But they can, and we can. And it's just opening yourself up to the possibility of emotional, spiritual, friendship, things that bring joy into your life.
Absolutely. So, and with all of these things in place, I mean, this is going to dampen down the signal to the brain, or does it actually cause things to resolve? Like, what do we need to do to get that reset button to occur?
Yeah. So it depends on the person. It's very individualized. So for some people, there are some of these cognitive and exposure activities that'll take away their pain. So what happens is frequently pain is a signal that there's some sort of danger. Okay. So if you've injured yourself, the pain signal says, whatever you're doing, stop.
Right,
This is just bad, stop it. And so pain is a natural cue to your stress response system to be on alert. Something bad is happening. Oh my God, I'm in pain. And so the more chronic pain that people have, their red alert system is often activated. And so by beginning to deactivate our fight or flight system, we can do that through meditation, through exercise, through changing kind of our thought patterns. We can start to dampen that down. Another thing is our brain can become like an overprotective nanny that don't move. Your neck is bad. You've hurt your neck. Don't move. And the physician will have looked at you and said, you know what? I think it's time for you to move your neck. I think you can start doing some exercise, but your brain is telling you, don't you dare move your neck. And what we do through some therapies is we just help the person realize once the doctor says it's okay, that let's start moving your neck. And now how about if you tell yourself that, tell your brain, this might be uncomfortable, but I'm safe. I know I can do this, and slowly start moving. And we get people to do this and they're stunned. It's like, oh my God, because they're simply just telling your brain, it's safe. I can do this. I'm not, the unit is not in danger, because that's your brain's function, is to keep the unit, keep you alive. And by telling your brain, oh, I guess that's all right. So our brain just does these amazing things to try and preserve us. And sometimes we just need to do that exact thing to teach the brain that it's okay. It's okay to move.
Yeah. And that itself is potentially going to shift you from the fight or flight to the parasympathetic of feeling safe. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That. So, I mean, what would your perspective be on somebody who does imaging and they find, like, they've got chronic back pain, for example, but the image finds nothing. And then they're in the position of wanting to go get surgery because they see maybe there's like a slight little bulging disc, and it could be impinging on the nerve, but maybe not. I mean, I know that the statistics for surgery are sometimes not the best if you can't identify the cause. Would that necessarily fit into this category, or could it fit into this category?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked this. It's actually right on the mark. So there's actually multiple studies that show us that what happens on an MRI, what we see there is not really a direct correlate to what the patient is telling you. So for example, somebody can have really lousy knees, so they have osteoarthritis all over. This is me. And really bad knees, but have no pain. And so the doctor will look at you like, seriously? Your knees
how does this not hurt? Right.
But they're a little stiff, but they don't hurt. Well, another person can have absolutely no osteoarthritis of the knees, and everything, all the ligaments and tendons are fine, but have tremendous pain. And there's nothing on the MRI to show it. And so that poor person often gets told, well, there's nothing we can do for you. We don't see anything. So I don't know, maybe send you to physical therapy, which could help. But it what we see on our MRIs and what people's experiences are rarely match. And we're actually conducting one of the largest studies to date to really, really test that with about 400 people.
Okay.
To get a really good sense of where they are with their pain and all these other aspects of there being what we call a phenotype. And then we've got 2 radiologists reading a very, very intensive set of radiographs or MRI. And we will hopefully do the definitive study saying, yeah, there's not a great match up here. Yeah. So it's not to say, though, that your doctor is wrong if they see something on MRI. They might not be wrong. They may, you've got pain, this is here, fix it, and it's fixed. Sure. It's just not that clear, though. And so often people will get something fixed, get a knee replaced or hip replaced or back surgery and say, I feel the same. Why do I feel the same?
Yeah, that's so discouraging. Absolutely. So, and your book goes through this 30-day series of cognitive behavioral therapy approaches for decreasing pain perception. Can you give us an example of a few of them and kind of why they work? I mean, you sort of have told us why they work, but some things to try.
Of course. So the way I've kind of structured my book is to, in the first 12 chapters, give a really good overview of kind of what we understand in pain science, but in really plain English, and just kind of explain, what have we learned in neuroscience? Why does this work? And to some degree, it's what I've been saying here, that pain is in the brain. It's due to these neural networks. And because it's predominantly done to how the brain amplifies the pain signal, and due to that poor wiring, that we can unwire. And so there are many things that do that. So in the book, I kind of step people through all these things that could potentially help, like changing thoughts, changing emotions, improving our social relationships, living life that feels purposeful or meaningful, being kind and volunteering. So all these things that generally help us feel like happy, meaningful, fulfilled people are the very things that help rewire our brain so that we don't experience pain. Yeah. As much pain. So what we do once we get to these 30 days is we have so many great evidence-based interventions that we have studied really well in academic settings and published in our fancy scientific papers that often never make their way to patients, to people who have chronic pain. And so that was the thought of my book, is that, I'm going to bring 30 of my favorites to people and let them consider them. And so the 30 days is a little bit of a challenge. I ask people to just spend 30 days and each day pop open a little 2-page insert and look at the technique. And so I got a little background about the technique, what it is, how to practice it for that one day, and then maybe if they like it, how to practice it in the future. But for that moment, you're supposed to think about that and then try it sometime during the day. And then at the end of the day, you come home, you pop open your book again, and you think about it. Okay, so I tried that. I kind of liked it, but not really. Or I tried that and I love it. I can so see how I put that in my life. And then so you pass judgment on each of these. And there are very, very different types of things that are straight, go right at the pain things, to things that are like breathing or changing your sleep or considering your social relationships or thinking about our spirituality or purpose in life. And each of these little bits are very, very different because all of us are so different. And what feels like it would be great to one person might seem nuts to another. But it's like we all understand our bodies and we have a sense of what our pain is. And somehow, even intuitively, we kind of feel like once we see it, we know what might work. And so once people do these 30 days, they kind of, I walk them through the last couple of chapters of kind of building a step-by-step kind of slow, thriving plan. But ideally, they may already be experiencing some improvements by trying some of the things just along the way.
Right. Yeah. And they pick and choose and figure out what works for them to incorporate on a regular basis. That's awesome.
Yes.
So where do you see the science of pain management going in the future? Where would you like it to go? And where do you see it going?
Yes. So, well, it's the science of pain management, but also the science of treatment. So what we knew before the opioid crisis is the best way to care for people with chronic pain was to give them a really rich interdisciplinary treatment setting, right? So they get a really good evaluation by a physician, by a physical therapist, by somebody in the behavioral sciences to help them, identify things that they can do better. Nursing, just a whole group of people, occupational therapy, and just to say, okay, this is kind of where you are. We get a sense of where you're telling us where you want to go. let's work on this. And so this really good team that adds many different pieces, from the behavioral things, getting people exercising again, and maybe dealing with the depression if it's there, getting people on a fresh medication, starting something new, getting people into physical therapy. So all these things happen. That's what used to work. Then the opioids came along, and most of these programs were no longer sustainable. They stopped being insured, they stopped being covered. And so the panacea was to give people a pill and send them on their way. Okay. What was missed is that sometimes the chronic pain was due to so much more. Sometimes it was due to stressors or situations, or, everything from persecution to childhood trauma to an injury that wasn't treated right. I mean, so many things, and each really needing a very personalized approach. And so that's where I hope we go again. Everything new is old again, kind of coming back, getting really multidisciplinary, getting a really good take on the person, setting them on a really good course, and then giving them what we call pain self-management, which is basically what my book is okay, we've done all this. These are things you're going to do for your health. And it's just like all the things that we should do for our health anyway, that, we should get a little exercise. We should eat well. We should try and meditate a little bit or be peaceful. Yeah,
absolutely. I love it. What have I not asked you that you want to make sure you leave with our audience?
Oh my goodness. We haven't talked about something that is so important to many people with chronic pain, as we're talking about the kind of the opioid question. Mm-hmm. So, it's thorny for people with chronic pain because many people with chronic pain have benefited from taking opioids. And then the CDC came in and changed the recommendations, and then people lost access, and many people suffered. And so I worry about those people. I think a more sane approach is having each person who's been on chronic long-term opioid therapy with chronic pain do an opioid experiment, which consists of, with your physician, slowly tapering off opioids, maybe using some other medications to help and some other modalities to help, and then give yourself a month to see where you're at. And what we see frequently is some patients have terrible pain and need to get back on their opioids, fine. But most patients will say after about a month, oh my gosh, I am so much better. My pain is better. I had a 7 out of 10 on pain and opioids. I thought I'd be a 22 or something, but it's better. And I can think, and I can, my emotions are back, and I just feel so much better. And so the opioid experiment, I think, has been a really great novel thing to do, so we can see where we're at. And if you get to the other side and then can start exercising and hopefully do some self-management practices. So that's something I think is important for us to talk about.
I love that. I love how integrative your approach is, that you're really looking at all aspects of the case, and so try to bring it all together.
Yeah, well, we're so unique.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Where can people go to learn more about you and to find your book?
Oh, thank you for asking. My book is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, every place, including independent bookstores. Please ask for it. But AftonHassett.com, my name, AftonHassett.com is my website. You can get access to the book there, but I also have a podcast, which is really fun. We just started that. And we have all sorts of resources that support the book, like mindfulness and breathing and other things. So please do visit. I'm always delighted to welcome more people to our website and to reading the book.
Awesome. Very cool. I will link to that in the show notes. Thank you, Afton. This has been fantastic. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed speaking with you and getting to know you a bit too.
For sure.
The roof was completely gone.
All of our memories being wiped away.
The rain is what got
20 minutes of sheer terror.
And you can feel it in your body.
I watched the fire move down the canyon.
The rumbling of the house.
My son started screaming, we're going to die, we're going to die. In the name of Jesus, we are not going to die.
At Samaritan's Purse, we bring spiritual and physical aid to hurting people around the world. We go into dangerous situations because in disaster, in disease, in war, Jesus calls us to love our neighbor, to heal the sick, feed the hungry, restore the broken. All who work and volunteer with Samaritan's Purse follow the example of Jesus. We go to serve, not to be served. And we go in Jesus' name. Join us at SamaritansPurse.org. That's SamaritansPurse.org.
What does the Bible really say about tattoos? Is it a sin to get ink? Or is there more to the story? Get the answer from Focal Point's Bible teacher, Pastor Mike Fabarez, when you listen to Ask Pastor Mike. Text the word Mike to 833-989-3750 right now to get a direct link to Ask Pastor Mike and get your questions about tattoos answered today.
Looking for a holistically minded healthcare practitioner who truly treats root cause rather than symptom suppression? Unfortunately, even in the alternative healing professions, this isn't a given. That's why I've created WholeHealthDoctor.com, a resource to help connect patients to healthcare practitioners in their area who share a root cause philosophy. Alternatively, most of the practitioners listed also practice telehealth. So if there isn't anyone local to you, you can still find a great practitioner to help you regain optimal health. Go to WholeHealthDoctor.com. That's WholeHealthDR.com. Type in your location or adjust the specialty that you're looking for and find the practitioner who's right for you.
Thanks for listening to Christian Natural Health. This show is run by you, so please write in with topic and guest suggestions for future shows. For more great content, subscribe to Dr. Lauren's blog at www.drlaurendeville.com or follow her on Facebook or Twitter at Dr. Lauren DeVille. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to share it with your friends and give us a 5-star rating in iTunes. It really helps us to stand out so other people can discover great content as well. Have a great week and God bless you.
Love, exciting and new. Come aboard. We're expecting you. Princess Cruises, the original love boat, is making another run to amazing destinations around the world. Aboard Princess, you'll love our world-class dining, spectacular production shows, curated excursions, and so much more. Book early and save up to 50%. Call 1-800-PRINCESS, visit princess.com, or contact your travel advisor today. Offer ends 10/31/23. Terms and conditions apply. Ships at Bermuda and British Registry.